Hey everyone, welcome. And in today's episode, I want to go over how to make a couple of keychain designs. So here is a Pinterest board that I have, chock full of inspirational images of keychains. So let's go ahead and start borrowing from here. Let's start simply. Let's do the letter one. So I'm going to grab this letter one. I'm going to look at it. Let's go ahead and grab. I'm going to save this image. I'm going to put it just on my desktop. I don't want to save this onto my hard drive. I don't want to save it into any one of my folders. I just want this to be temporary. So I'm even going to leave the name as just Keychains, and then I'll just put letter so I know it's the letter one. And I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to go over to Rhino. Here's Rhino. I'm going to go to New File. And personally, I want to do this in small objects inches. And I'm going to go ahead and use this top view to design this keychain. So a couple of things that I want to keep you all in mind. There are standard sizes and dimensions for things in life. And for that, I like to Google search some of these dimensions. So if I look up typical size of a keychain hole, I'll not only get some ideas of how big a keychain hole is, but also some other things, right? So if I look at this image, it's telling me that this is a 3 mm diameter hole, and there's about 2 mm distance from the edge of the circle to the edge of the keychain. Here's the typical length of a keychain. So we want to keep things like this in mind when we go to design things, because there are a few proper standards, and we can always go around those and bend the rules a little bit, but generally, some of these are already tried and true, so it's, I think, good to start off with some good measurements and then work your way towards bending the standard a little bit. So for some of the quick research I did, looks like we're going to want to do a hole in our keychain that's about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch in diameter. We're also going to want the keychain itself, whatever we design, to have a length that is no longer than 2 1/4 of an inch in the length. And then in the width, maybe about 1.5 inches, anything less than 1.5 inches. So with those numbers in mind, I'm going to choose this layer one. I'll call it guides. Okay, let's choose a nice big vibrant color like magenta. Let's make this layer active, and I'm going to draw out some of these numbers. Let's use a rectangle, and I like to use the 3-point rectangle, so I'm going to right click on this rectangle here and then click on this one right here. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and start my rectangle here at the origin. So I'm going to type in 0 and hit enter. Oops, 0, enter. Okay, I'm going to turn ortho on just so I make a nice straight rectangle. And in this direction, I'm going to have my cursor on the right side of the origin, and I'm going to type in 1.5. Okay, that's 1.5 units or 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to move my cursor upwards like this, and I'm going to type in 2.25. And then I'm going to click. And now that kind of gives me an idea of the maximum size I want to attempt to make for this keychain. We could totally go bigger. We could even go smaller. But I'm just going to start with this one somewhat standard size. So the next thing I want to do is I want to draw the circle. So I'm going to go ahead and navigate to layer 2. Let's set up a couple of layers. Let's set up an engrave layer, since I'm going to be laser cutting this keychain. And then let's also set up a score layer, just in case I want to score something. And then let's set up a cut layer. Okay. And in fact, I'm going to even put a number at the beginning of each of these layers' names. Okay. And the number will remind me when I get to LightBurn, this is the sequence that I want to laser cut these things. I want to cut last. right? I don't want to cut out first. I want to cut last. I want to engrave first. I want to score lines first or second, and then I want to cut the final shape later. So now I'm going to go to layer 5, make that one active, and I'm going to call this one images. And anytime you're inspired by an image from, let's say, Pinterest, you can always bring that in. I'm going to use the picture command. I'm going to remember where I saved it, and that was on the desktop. I called it Keychains letter. And then to bring it in, you just define 2 points, 2 corners of a rectangle. And I made one click, and here's the second click. So in looking at all of these designs, it seems fairly simple. We have a letter, and that's usually the first letter of someone's name. So if it was my name, it'd be Teva, T-E-V-A, so I'd make myself a T. Another thing I want to point out is where the hole of the keychain is. It's always on the sort of top left corner of the entire letter. So here's a Z, and it's in the top and left side. Here's the O, top left. This one actually is the top left as well. M, same thing. G, or this is a C, I guess because of the shape of the C. This one's on the right, but it's always going to be on the top, so it's going to dangle. And when it dangles, right, due to gravity, we're going to experience the Z, and in this way where it's this flat side is pointing down towards the ground. So another thing I'll point out is the circle and the distance away from the edge that that circle is, right? So now what I'll do, the easy way to achieve one of these is let's use the text object command. And another thing I'll point out about this design is these letters are big block letters that have a little serif. This little line right here in the letters is sort of ornamental, but it is called a serif versus a sans serif, which means without the serif. So I'm going to look for a typeface that has that serif. Let's go ahead and type in the initial that I want. So I'm going to put T, because my name is Teva and I want to see a T. So I'm going to highlight all of that entire letter. And I've never used this typeface, but let's try that one. Okay. So I can see the little serifs on that thing. I'm going to change the height of this to, let's see, if the maximum length that I want this keychain to be is 2 1/4, I'll go ahead and put in 2 as a height. And then I'm going to output curves, and I'm going to group it. I don't need solids, I don't need surfaces, so hit OK. There's the T. Okay, and I'm just going to click to place it in there. And currently it's on the images layer, but this is obviously going to get cut out, so I'm going to put it on this layer. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's go to default layer. Let's turn off the images layer. I don't need to see that right now. The next thing I want to do is I want to figure out the circle. So I'm going to click on the circle command. I'm just going to place the center of the circle somewhere around here. And then I'm going to click outwards, and then I'm going to type in the diameter. The diameter is, let's try 1/8 of an inch, so 1/8 inches, enter, and that's 1/8. If I did that same circle again but at 1/4 of an inch, it's going to look like this, right, with a diameter of 1/4, and that one represents that 1/4 inch. Okay, so that might be a little too big, might dangle and swing a lot, so let's stick with 1/8 inch. All right, so now I've placed my circle. You can place it anywhere you want, but if you place it up here, or down here, I mean, what's going to happen is this whole T is going to dangle. So if I were to rotate it just to illustrate that, it's going to dangle, and you're always going to experience it, or whoever's looking at your keychain is always going to see it dangle, and it'll be upside down like that. So I'm going to hit undo, I'm going to hit undo, and I'm going to leave it at this top left corner. I'm going to put this also on the cut layer. Okay, and I'm going to group these two. I like the positioning of the circle relative to the T. Actually, let's move this. Let's move it in closer to somewhere around there. This is the near point, and I'm going to move this point to the perpendicular point of this one, and I'm going to move it. So type in move. going to move it from here to this direction, I think 2 or 3 millimeters. So let's go 3 millimeters and then click. And then I'm going to move from here and then go downwards 3 millimeters, enter, and then click. Okay, so that's 3 mil away from either side. Now I'm going to take both of them since I really like the positions and group it. Okay, and then I'm going to just kind of scooch it in just to compare it to, what I had defined previously as the boundary. And it somewhat respects that rule. So I'm okay with it overhanging like that. It's a big letter. I'm okay with that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type in text object. And if I go back to that image, let's turn that back on. Looks like these letters are they also have a serif. So I'm going to turn this back off. I'm going to do the text object command. And let's type the rest of my name, Teva. Okay, I'm going to highlight it all, and then I'm going to make sure to let's choose black. Let's do curves, and then the height, we're going to want something really small, so let's try 0.25 inches and hit OK. All right, I can place it in here. I want to turn it sideways so it reads this way. So I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to use the gumball. If you don't have the gumball on, turn it on. It's this one right here. And then click here on this blue arc, and then type in 90. So you can rotate it in this direction, and then use the gumball to just simply move it over here. Okay. Next thing I want to do is I'd like to really center this vertically. So I'm going to select these two letters, and hopefully this will work, but I'm going to type in align, and I'm going to type in V so I can align to a vertical center, and I hit enter, and I'm going to hit enter one more time to auto align, and now it's centered vertically. If I do that command again, align, and this time try horizontally centering. So I'm going to type in H for and hit enter, and then hit enter one more time to auto align. And now it is perfectly centered within this entire letter. Okay. Now I don't want the laser to cut this out. I just want it to engrave it. So I'm going to change object layer, put it on the engrave layer, and then once I get over to the machine, I'm going to fill it. So actually, instead of engrave, I'll call it fill, because once I get over to the laser, I'm going to fill. Okay, so there we have it. This is a simple keychain that brings in and utilizes one letter, the first letter of somebody's name, and then engraves their actual name here into the center. If I turn this on again, you can see the similarity between this design and their design. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and delete this image. I don't really need it anymore, but you could always keep it in there if you want. Let's look at another design and go back to Pinterest. Go back here. Let's try one of these car logo ones. I'm gonna show you a really cool technique where you can borrow from the internet. So there's a couple of great little websites I want you to try. Go to thenounproject.com. This is a perfect place for people who don't want to spend the time 2D modeling or drafting very specific little icons. This thing comes in great handy when you need to do icons for like a logo or a business card or some sort of branding or for signage. You can look up a bunch of different icons. So let's say I want to look up what are we going to look up? I have a Toyota, so type in Toyota and hit enter. All right, got a bunch of Toyota cars. And these are fun because someone's already taken the time to draft this up. Most of them are geared for some programs like Photoshop or Illustrator, so they're not going to be perfect for what we're trying to achieve. But I'll show you how to manipulate at least one of these. I'm going to type in Tacoma because I have a nice little Tacoma. And I see this quick little drawing of a Tacoma, or really just a truck. So I think I'll go ahead and I don't really like that one. So let me just type in truck. And then that actually looks a little bit more like a Tacoma. But what I'm going to look for is something really simplistic, kind of like this one, just not a box truck. I'm going to look for something a little bit cooler. Let's look at, okay, I kind of like this old Chevy style pickup truck. I'm going to do that one. I'm going to select it. Okay. And great thing about a noun project is that it's free as long as you create an attribute the designer when you're selling this. So I'm going to go ahead and do attribution required, but I'm actually not going to sell this. So I'm just making it personally just for myself. But if you want to actually start a business where you're creating these and selling it, you're going to want to think about getting the license and permission to use someone else's artwork because we don't want to steal. It's okay to emulate for practice, but we don't want to steal and sell other people's ideas when it belongs to them. So I'm going to get this icon and I'm going to download the SVG. SVG is a scalable vector graphic. Here it is in my downloads folder, so I'm going to go back to Rhino. I'm going to do an import and I'm going to find it and I'm going to hit OK. It says import SVG, import filled objects as curves or hatches or trim planes. I'm going to say curves. Okay, and there it is. Okay, it's created by Arista Septiana Dewey from Noun Project. So thank you, Arista. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's analyze what we've been given. Okay, we got groupings of curves. I'm imagining that these are all closed curves, but I'm not going to assume that. Okay, so what I want to do is, first of all, I'm going to scale this down and delete this text. But I'm going to take this and I'm going to use the gumball and I'm going to hold down shift as I click and drag one of these squares. I'm going to shift, okay, because I know this is about the size of the keychain that I want. Okay, something like that. Click and drag, hold shift. Okay, that's about the right size if I rotate it like that. So maybe do I want it dangling like that? Probably, that might be cool. Or do I want it dangling from one of the tires? That might be nice. Okay, so this is about the right size. Maybe we can go a little bit smaller. Okay, let's leave it like that. What I want to do is I want to evaluate these curves. I want to make sure I've got a lot of closed curves. So I'm going to go to Properties. It says this is a grouping of 11 closed curves. This is a grouping of 2 closed curves. I'm looking right over here at Object Type. I'm going to click on the window, 2 closed curves, 2 closed curves. So that's perfect. Everything's closed. I like it like that. So let's go ahead and I'm going to grab this circle. I'm going to go ahead and steal from myself. Actually, I don't need to steal from myself. I'm going to grab all of these curves, and what I want to do with these curves is I have 2 options, really. I'm going to go back to layers. I can either fill each of these regions, so if I select this, I can actually have because they're all closed curves, I can actually have the laser come in and fill all of this area in with laser. Okay, even this area and this region in here and this region in here. Okay, so I can do that. Or I can just have it score all of those lines. So I need to figure that out first. Let's go ahead and select them all. I'm going to put it on the fill layer, change object layer. Okay, I want to see this all turn purple because I just put it on this fill layer. So now I'm going to go back to properties. I'm going to select all these things. The reason why it's not changing color is because in the properties, the display color is set to by layer, which happens so much when you're borrowing from another website, when you're importing things from another software, when you're taking things from somebody else. You didn't draw it, you didn't dictate what layer it goes on, you didn't dictate the properties of the lines, and that kind of stuff will happen. So this should usually say by layer. By layer, by layer, by layer, by layer. This is by view, by layer. So now if I go back to layers, I just click elsewhere. Now it's all in the purple fill layer. And the next thing I want to do is I want to create an offset line of the boundary of this that is a little bit offset, so that way I can create a shape that will cut this thing out. So to do that, I'm going to select these outermost curves. I'm going to type in curve Boolean. And what curve Boolean does is it allows you to take all of these curves that we're looking at, and it's going to allow me to create a closed curve based off of either inside regions that I want to keep or the entire outside regions. So let me just show you. If I click outside of this area, it completely outlined it for me. So now if I hit enter, I have a brand new line. Okay, the outline of that truck. That wasn't there before. I just created it because it took all the curves that it could see and it basically created one closed shape. Now I'm going to offset. Let's try a 1/4 of an inch. All right, that's way too much. Let's backspace and do 1/8 of an inch. Even that's a little too much. Let's try a 1/16 of an inch. That seems kind of nice. Let's do a little bit more than 1/16 of an inch. Let's go ahead and try, in terms of 30 seconds, that's 2 30 seconds. So let's try 3 30 seconds. Oops. Backspace, 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 3 30 seconds. That's too much. So 16th, in terms of 64ths, that's 4/64. Let's try 5/64ths. 5/64. 4. That looks okay. I'm going to click, and now I have an outline. So I want to go back. I'm going to find that line that I had made with curve Boolean. I'm going to delete it and take this new offset line that came from that line, and I want to go ahead and change object layer to cut. That way it cuts it out. Let's pick some more vibrant colors. So fill, let's do red. Score, let's do RG, let's do a green. And then cut, let's do a RGB, so blue. All right, now I can easily identify, all right, what's being cut, what's being scored, what's being filled. So that's looking good. If I want to get kind of a preview before I even take it to LightBurn, I can go and select these things, and I can type in hatch, okay, and then hit enter, and I can type in, or I can click this one, and hit hatch, and hit enter, and that's kind of what the laser is going to do. It's going to engrave all that, just like it'll engrave this one as well. Okay, I'm not going to leave these hatches here though. All right. Undo, undo. I just wanted to give you guys a preview of that. All right, cool. Now I just need to figure out where I want to put my hole. I'm going to grab a circle. It's going to be on the cut layer. And I'm going to put the circle at the center of the circle. I want to make sure O snap is on, make sure center snap is on. And I want to see if I can find the center of this circle. I'm assuming it's a circle. It may not be a circle. I'm having trouble identifying the center of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a polyline that goes straight from this endpoint to this one. And now I'll draw a circle that starts at this midpoint. And the diameter of the circle will be 1/8 of an inch. All right, delete that. And there we go. So there's my 1/8 inch circle. It's going to be right there. And it's going to hold my key. Actually, this is going to be way too far away from the key ring, and it's going to make it really hard to put this thing on. So that can't be the spot it goes. So it's going to have to go about 2 to 3 millimeters away from the edge. So if I offset this line here inwards, let's try 3 millimeters, 3 mm. It's going to have to go somewhere right in there. So I'm going to grab this circle, I'm going to move it from this point, and I'll move it somewhere right over here, just like that, because this line here represents a 2 or 3 millimeter offset. I'm going to delete that offset, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, that way it's going to dangle like that. And let's go ahead and group these things. Select all of these and type in group. Just so that way when I go to move one of them, I don't accidentally forget anything. If I move this on accident, like, oh, they're grouped, so they move as a unit. Same thing with this one. Let's go ahead and group. All right, there's two keychain designs. Let's find another one to emulate. Pinterest. Ooh, let's see if I can find a logo. So I didn't find a logo here in Noun Project. Noun Project is more for generic shapes. Let's type in Toyota logo, and I want you to also search for vector. A lot of times someone else has already created a vector file. Sometimes they'll use a platform like this to sell their DXF file, but I'm going to be cheap and find one for free. Oh, that one's funny. Let's do, I like that one. I'm going to go back. Let's click on this one here. Okay, let's grab this one here. I'm going to click it. And I'm going to figure out how to download it. Let's go back. Let's click download. It's going to download as an SVG. I think it's this one right here. So I'm going to go back to Rhino, import, Toyota, click OK, and drag it over here with the gumball, make it much smaller. Okay. It's kind of odd that this gumball stretches all the way over here, so I'm going to make a big selection window, make sure there's nothing here. Okay, good. So now let's make it smaller. Maybe smaller. Rotate it. Take this a little bit bigger. Something like that. All right. Now select it all. Let's do it. If I go back to this image, looks like they engraved all these insides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of this logo. I'm going to type in curved boolean. This time I'm going to click these inside regions that I want to keep. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to put this on the fill layer. Okay, and now all I need to do is create a small offset of the outer layer. So I'm going to grab that outer layer. I'm going to type in curved boolean. I'm going to grab this outside area. I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to offset that one. Probably like 2 or 3 millimeters. Let's try 2 millimeters. Okay, and then let's put our circle in there. So type in circle. Center of circle, let's put it right right here at this endpoint. And then let's type in 1/8 of an inch diameter. It's definitely too close here, so I'm going to move this up, and then I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to move it again, but move it this way 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters. And click. Okay, so that's where that one's going to fall. So this, I want to get rid of all these red lines now. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this one and delete it. Click on this one and delete it. Oops. Let's undo and undo one more time. And take this one here and delete it. These ones here should be filling. Okay. And then I'm going to cut with this shape. I'm going to grab this line, delete it. Actually, I'm going to not delete it. I'm going to undo, and I'm going to put this on the fill layer. There we go. So what's going to happen is it's going to look like this, pretty much. So I'm going to hit undo, and that's what I want to do. Something like that. Let's find a keychain that's got more of a geometric feel to it. I have an idea. Let's do one for a bicycle lock. So let's go back to the noun project. Let's search for bicycle. We're going to make this one for the key for a bike lock. Kind of like this one. It's a very simple drawing, so I'm going to do attribution required, get this icon, download the SVG, go back to Rhino, import that SVG, and hit OK. And then I'm going to zoom out. Looks like that came with more than just the bicycle. So I'm going to select just the bicycle. Let's ungroup all this. Escape, escape. Okay, now I can grab all this, move it over, and then scale it down as well. Holding Shift. Come over here. Do that again. Hold Shift. Hold Shift. I'm going to kind of get it about that size, which looks like I got. I'm going to move it over here. Now, do I want the bike to dangle this way, or do I want to rotate it so it rotates that way? Let's do that way. So it looks like I got a closed curve, a closed curve, closed curve. Looks like these are a bunch of closed curves. I'm going to delete this little guy just for simplicity since it's so tiny. And the first thing I'll do is I'll select all of that, and let's fill that. Okay, it didn't change red, so I'm going to select all that again, go to Properties, and I'm going to put by layer. And then now I'm going to go to Layers. In the cut layer, I'm going to go ahead and select all of these and type in curve boolean. I'm going to click the outside area and hit enter. And I'm going to offset it 2 millimeters. And just like that. I'm going to delete this curve boolean line and type in circle. And the center of circle, let's just put it anywhere and then give it an 1/8 inch diameter. And move it. Find this edge right here. And I'm going to move it from here to down this way 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters. Uh-oh, something happened that I didn't intend. This got really long, so I'm going to hit undo very slowly, very carefully, and just watch to make sure that that goes back to normal. There we go. So I undid so much, I need to do my offset again. I'm going to offset outwards. Oh, I see what's happening when I offset offwards. It does that. So let's go ahead and do that, but this time we'll cut this off. I'll finish this little part with an arc. Let's just start end point on arc. Here, here, and sometimes you need to turn off grid snap and ortho. Let's see, let's hit escape a couple times. Let's do a circle instead. Let's do a 2-point circle. Let's say from here to about arc, start, end, direction at start, arc, start, end, radius. Let's try this one, and let's do start of the arc is here, end of the arc is here. And I need to figure out the radius portion, and it should be that. I think is pretty much it. So I'm going to click there, And then I'm going to take that arc, I'm going to type in trim, I'm going to click on this line and get rid of all that. And then now I'm going to select all this and join it. I'm going to delete this curved boolean one that I had made. Delete that because I don't want it to cut there, so I'm going to delete that. So now what's going to happen is between all this red stuff, take out the blue stuff, and I'm going to hatch it, and I'm going to make it engrave all of that pretty much. So that's kind of what it's going to look like. So I'm going to hit escape or undo. Now this is all going to be filled because it's red, and then cut. This is blue. I'm also going to need my keychain circle, so I'm going to type in circle, center circle. I'm going to do a 1/8 inch diameter circle and hit enter. And I'm going to take this and move it from this point to that point. Now I'm going to move it from here and then go downwards 2 millimeters and click, and that's where that's going to be. Is that what I like? Do I want to keep it there, or do we want to move this around? How do I want to do this? I think that's okay. I could also kind of put it over here, so if I take this and move it from here to about here, or let's put it right here. I'm going to move it 2 millimeters this way, downwards. And I'm going to move it this way 2 millimeters and see if that looks good. I think I'd rather have it there and kind of pivot from that point. Okay, so there's like 4 different logos right there, keychains. I'm going to take away the guide, so I just have this stuff. That's getting filled. Well, that red is filled. This red is filled. This red is filled. This red is filled. All that's left is to go laser cut this. So I'm going to go File, Save As. I want to save this Rhino file because I like it a lot. And I'm going to find this class. I'm going to go to, I'm going to call this one Keychains. Enter. File name 250703 Keychains TJC. I think this is assignment 5, right? Let's go back to that. Let's go to assignment 5, yes. Let's go back and type in A5. Save it as a Rhino model for now, because we want to just at least be able to access this again. And select all that, export. And I'm going to go and save it back in the same spot. Under Keychains. This time I'm going to do the same name, but file type is going to be AutoCAD Drawing Exchange, DXF. Save. OK. Now I'm going to show you what it's going to look like when I bring in LightBurn, which you're not going to have LightBurn. You're not going to have access to LightBurn unless you're using one of the 2 computers near the laser cutter. So let's go to LightBurn. I'm going to go File, Import. No, don't download the next software update. File, Import. Navigate to where my file is saved. Alright, here it is. Move it over here towards the origin, zoom in. And then the red stuff, I need to go first. I want the blue to be cut out, so I want that to be last. So select the blue layer, click the down arrow, select the red layer, change it to fill mode. And then I need to figure out my settings. My settings will depend on what material that I'm using, which I think for this is going to be wood. And I'm going to go and check the material test card that I've created already with wood and make sure that I get good settings chosen. So before I do that, I can even do a little preview. So I'm going to go Window, Preview. 409 shapes are set to fill but weren't closed. These have been removed as they may cause problems. Okay, let's see. Let's hit Continue. Let's hit play. Okay, yeah, it didn't really fill the things we wanted it to fill. So that's going to be an issue. So basically it didn't fill any of those things. So I'm going to hit OK. What I'll do is I'll have it do one at a time. So I'm going to select all of Teva. Oops. If I select any one of them, I'll notice that they're all grouped. I'm going to right click and ungroup. Now I'm going to try to select just Teva. Okay, cool. Every single, oops, I'm going to hit undo. I think I accidentally moved that. So the problem here is that all these lines are not joined. I'm going to go back to Rhino. I'm going to check and see if that's true here as well. I'm going to ungroup. And this is 5 curves. Properties. It is closed curves, so it should be closed. Let's go back to LightBurn. So if it's not, what I can do is select all these. And I think I can do one of these two here. Let's see if I right click. Let's see if I click on this one here, weld all shapes together. Does that help? Let's click on this one. No, it's still a bunch of separate lines. So let's select all of these. Right click it. Let's see, join. I'm trying to join all these, so let's try close path. No, that didn't help. Auto join selected shapes. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. I'm going to select all these now. Edit, auto join selected shapes. Perfect. And let's go through and I'm going to not show the blue. I'm not going to show the blue stuff. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to select all of these. Actually, let's go ahead and select all these reds. Edit. Let's do auto join selected shapes. There we go. That looks better. All right, let's bring back show, and let's do window and preview. 4 sets of shapes go more close. I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to hit play. And this thing gives you a preview of what's going to be laser cut. Looks like everything's good except for my V of my name. So I'm going to hit escape 2 times. I'm going to zoom out, navigate to V. I'm going to check it out. I can see that it's all dashy and stuff over here, but this 1, 2, 3, these 3 lines are not. So something not right with this file. When I select that line, nothing happens. So I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to do edit or tools. Okay, that helped. Let's try taking the rest of this V. Auto join. Okay, that's much better. Let's preview this now. Let's hit play. Let's fast forward. Perfect. All right, cool. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to make sure things are grouped. So I'm going to select all of those and group all that. I'm going to select all these and group all that. I'm going to select one of these and group all that. All right. I'm going to try my best to nest these things so that way they're a little bit tighter so we don't waste any materials. Okay, that's all nicely nested. Now I'm going to go laser cut this. I'm going to figure out the settings, and I'm just going to go laser cut it, adjust the bed height, and you're good to go. So I'm going to go File. Since I have LightBurn, I'm going to go ahead and save this file on a flash drive, and then I will show you guys a photo of the keychains. All right, cool. See you in the next one.